Hello, we've moved to Paris and we're excited because we're beginning our Paris coverage today with the work of Walter Van Beirendonck, a man who is quite extraordinary, never fails to excite, utterly original, and I think we all adore him. I adore him. I've adored him ever since he came to London years ago as one of the Antwerp Six, which I think was in 1982, and he's been a happiness for me ever since. Before we start talking about him, I'd like my guests to introduce themselves. Two you've already met. We've got a new boy at the end there. Off we go.
I'm Chris Sutton. I'm a fashion designer and the fashion director for Marilyn Manson.
I'm Mandi Lennard and I run a fashion consultancy called Mandi's Basement.
Hello, I'm Cobbie Yates. I'm a stylist and a creative consultant.
And I suppose I would say I'm Colin McDowell, but there it is. These are the important ones. These are the ones with the views, which we hope are going to be stimulating, exciting, and even possibly challenging. Because he's stimulating, exciting, and challenging. What are we expecting, Mandi, this afternoon when we finally... It's running an hour late or more or less, so it's going to be a bit of time, but what are you expecting?
I don't know, because what he's done over the years, to people that aren't familiar with his work, is actually quite brash. He's taking cultural references of the time, and when he first did that, or in the 80s when he first came, when we first heard about him, and then with the Antwerp Six later on, it was very kind of MTV mashup, lots of bright stuff. We've got an interesting soundtrack filtering in.
I think you should always have a soundtrack. It's quite good.
But what was interesting about last season was that I felt that I was watching a new designer show.
Yes.
It didn't seem Walter Van Beirendonck light. It seemed like somebody who was in the now, doing something for now. So it was kind of low key for him, but there was a lovely shimmery and his typical fabrics and graphics, and it was just a kind of more. It just seemed like he was in touch. It didn't, because with a lot of the designers who've been going a long time, sometimes, like we were having a dispute the other day about Jill Sander, going back to Jill Sander, and I was going, oh no, I'm not excited about that. It's like, I enjoyed the RAF years. She had her heyday, and I don't mean that in a patronising way, I just mean you always have to live in the moment. But here's somebody who is enduringly got it.
Yeah, well, I think enduring is the word, because I don't think he has changed very much. What's happened is we have caught up with him. And things that right at the beginning people thought were a bit too much or a bit frightening, we just find them amusing and raising our spirits.
He's actually given birth to Jeremy Scott and cassette player and people like that.
Absolutely, he's the godfather.
I mean, I agree. I believe that, like, you know, people like Carrie and Jeremy, as you were saying earlier, really seem to get their inspiration directly from him. And I mean, I agree as well when you said that you feel like we've reached a stage where we've caught up with him. Like, he seems to have, in his last collection, sort of picked up on his direct original influences of David Bowie and, you know, of just kind of having that sort of Mick Jagger like fun. There was such a fun flair to his work, but I mean that always comes out anyway. But I just think that he really has taken a moment to just completely separate himself, start again, and just again bring something that was just completely new, completely fresh, and completely cool.
Chris? Sorry. Go on.
Yeah, no, go for it.
It's quite a new thing for me. I didn't really know him very well before doing this panel, but what I got was there are a lot of designers, a lot of menswear designers that are technical, they're intelligent and academic, and he seems to be someone that I don't know, have an affinity with, because his inspiration is music, pop culture, and his own dark secrets. And
by which you mean his sex attitude to sex?
I think, I feel that, no, not even that, like he's in touch with a dark part of himself, and that comes with your mortality and sexuality. And his pieces just seemed quite dark and interesting, like it was a secret, like it was sentimental, like those pieces did have David Bowie. It was almost like a memory from his past that was coming forward, and he had sexy bits.
That's very interesting. Who else can we think of whose clothes have a dark secret, maybe?
Alexander McQueen.
Yes.
Gareth Pugh.
Rick.
Yeah.
Gareth,
I mean,
I suppose.
Rick does as well.
Rick Owen.
Yeah.
Rick Owen certainly.
Andy, I mean, pretty much.
And the thing that Mandi was saying was that all these people look up to him because there's a few people that give you permission to be flamboyant. And that doesn't really happen often in menswear. You know, like with Gianni Versace, starting people, making it okay to be overtly you know, flamboyant, colourful, sexy, maybe probably a bit gay, whatever, you know.
Probably.
Just letting that flamboyancy come out and to give you permission to go there, and this designer seems to do that.
Can you imagine what it was like at the beginning of the 80s when he landed?
Oh my God.
I mean, he's such an icon. I meet so many people that are in awe of him. And I remember he came to my office years ago, and I wasn't too familiar with him, but I was very aware of him. And I couldn't even speak. I mean, I was so in awe that, you know, and I think he came from a meeting with Mark Ely from Ely Kishimoto back then, that he was someone so in tune and someone who so many of my contemporaries looked up to. And he's just been this really big, influential force. And also he's got a lovely empathy with other designers because he teaches. Is he still at the Antwerp
I think
College?
he is,
Yeah.
yes, I think he does.
He's a real stalwart. And also he had that amazing shop in Antwerp. And it was almost like everyone went on a pilgrimage to go to Antwerp just to go to his shop. So that's kind of testament to his pull as a designer.
I think he's had an enormous effect as far as colour for men is concerned. What do you think, Cobbie? You're looking pretty colourful there.
I do. I think that as well, one thing I like about him is he really takes the opportunity to not impose his own thoughts and visions on the students that he teaches that I really admire. Like, I know Chris Van Ash was taught underneath him, and that's such a different direction, and you know, someone that's so minimal and so chic and so, you know, clean, but still does like very intricate design and still kind of follows a suit that is very varied in its body of work. And I just really admire that, the fact that he could kind of cultivate that, but yet, you know, still be able to create his own spirit and his own thing and his own collections. I think is fantastic.
And it says a lot for him as a teacher that he lets people develop in what for him is an outrageously understated way.
Yeah.
Because there's nothing understated about what he does.
Well, at the time, his contemporaries, Dirk Bickenberg, Xander Moyle,
They were all understated, really.
Yeah, I mean, he
All
was
black,
like the
remember.
enfant terrible of his time, really.
Yes, because everything was black then, because it was just after the Japanese had come. And it seemed as if he just suddenly thought, I want colour, I want life, I want excitement. But I think it's taken the fashion business a long time to get it, even if they still have.
I think there was a time in the 80s, in the late 80s though, when I found it all a little bit garish. I must admit.
Oh, it's not subtle, that's for sure.
But it's really funny, in this day and age, when you see the ones that have been inspired by him doing the boldness, doing the craziness, but it works. It doesn't look as crazy as it would have back then, for sure. Now it's kind of, you know, Jeremy Scott has almost set that precedent too. But at the time, it was quite out there, really out there. Whereas now we can digest it. You know, there's lots more cultural influences that we can digest on the internet and what have you.
Has he had a big effect on clubbing and the way people dress for that, or has he taken a lot of the effects from the sort of things that someone like you, if you go to a club, would wear?
I think they both support each other. I think that it's all that thing where people think they're being very original, but it's very Lee Bowery, and
well, that's where it all starts.
Yeah,
really. He's very Lee Bowery.
It is.
If you think about it.
Once Lee existed, it kind of just went, well, where we're going to go from here, because it's so beautiful and iconic that everybody's referencing it sometimes without knowing they're referencing it. It's almost Lee pushed it to such an extreme because it wasn't a costume, it was a way of life.
Yeah.
And that's the difference. And I think that might be what this designer is doing, because this collection, well, I think it was last season, was so well tailored and beautiful, but you still had the Christmas tinsel on an arm. But it was demure, it was an educated edition.
I think he's very good at bringing the way of life into collections as well. When he did that whole thing where he was the first person to kind of launch bears walking down the catwalk, and you know, that was really just a way of just kind of dealing with.
That was probably before Moschino, actually.
Yeah.
Yes, even. Yeah. Yes.
Yeah, so early on.
I think what he does is he moves forward by sending himself up in a way, because it's so outrageous. And
I think one of the things that you forget though about these kind of clothes are that you can't wear them in day-to-day life. Like, we're lucky we live in London, and I kind of feel that okay, in certain areas of London you can't, but I really do feel that I can wake up every day and be who I want to be. I can wear what I want, and I don't need to look like a weirdo for expressing myself. But actually, back then, the only place you could wear these clothes and be creative was in clubs.
Behind closed doors, exactly.
Yeah.
That's true.
Yes, really. I mean, I dare say, even now, perhaps in some societies, some of the things that he shows on the runway, if you actually wore them, you'd probably get arrested for obscenity or something.
I feel like a lot of people get away with a lot nowadays.
Well, we're talking from London. I don't think
Yeah.
it's necessarily true everywhere by any means.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, we're still waiting. We are still waiting for the.
Yeah, I'm quite excited to see it now.
Yeah,
actually.
pictures.
Because actually last season's was very low key for him, so
Yes.
I kind of want him to come out a little bit more.
Yes, do something really
And
exciting.
I think it could work. And
I
I
want
don't.
something shiny and bright colours, you know?
Yeah.
Do we expect much shiny and bright from Paris, generally? What are we expecting?
It's summer, isn't it? So summer collection, you can go for it with colour.
Galliano, possibly.
I think it might be that Miami pastel that's coming out. That
Yes.
mint and that we saw a lot of the men's collections.
Yes.
That was very prevalent in London collections, men, wasn't it? But actually, I got really excited in the middle of the Versace show, would you believe, when they had that fluoro section with the yellows and the reds and the oranges. So hopefully some of the designers will have gone for that.
Yeah.
So tie-dye, very Craig Green, who set the precedent for that this season.
Absolutely.
Beautifully.
Very strongly as well.
Yeah,
very,
we all got so excited about that.
Great conviction. Absolutely.
I only saw a couple of images from the Prada show, but I mean, even the print and the colour and the tropical Hawaiianism
It was amazing.
was too much. And I mean, the set was too much. Like, from what I could see, like, obviously there's only so much you can actually see. That's the thing I love about Michio anyway. Like, there's so much that she allows you to experience if you're just there. Like, obviously you get glimpses of it if you're watching.
Yeah, but actually, there's so much she doesn't allow you to experience when you're there, because
Oh,
Catherine
really?
Hayward from Esquire,
Yeah.
she was tweeting about how, I'll post some proper pictures tomorrow, meaning that the press that were there were having a real nightmare trying to get images while they were there, because it was quite dark. We were deliberating over that on the panels.
I think she likes to tease. You know, I think she likes to do little things to keep us on our toes and not make it too easy. I mean, I don't know if you've met her, but she's got a marvellous sense of humour. Very dry and very quiet.
I mean, that comes out through her clothing, doesn't it?
Of course, I was just going to say.
And it does with Walter as
And
well.
I think very much so.
I think something else that I'm really excited about with Walter is what his soundtrack will be like as well. Because, you know, again, he's a popular culturist guy, you know, so it'll be interesting to see what he's picked to accompany the collection.
It'll be nice to see it, no matter what he's picked. I mean, really, it would seem that he's now started, but he's been virtually an hour late, and none of the pictures have come
Shall
through
we maybe
yet.
see what's on Twitter? I don't know whether it's worth it.
Oh, we can imagine.
Well,
What else?
I think we might stop and come back when we've got something to talk
Shall we
about.
call it maybe 10 minutes?
Well, let's wait until they start coming out, yeah? Okay, so don't go away, we will be back, and we assume that he will be with us as well, and we'll go on. Welcome back, and we now finally have some pictures. We also have on my left-hand side here, right-hand side here.
Pick one, you're going to get it
Start
right.
again. On my right-hand side here, we have Chris Sutton, who is so clever. He has predicted this whole collection.
Shall we have a round of applause for Chris?
He did a little bit of
What can I
homework
say?
last night, and we're very proud of him, so he'd better start the commentary.
Okay. Well, I've only seen one picture, so don't set me up for a fall.
Stop being a coward, get on with it.
Basically, it's interesting. This one's a little bit too busy for my liking.
Well, we were having a chat in the break, weren't we, about how
She just took over.
Colin and I remember Madonna at Live Aid wearing Scott Crowler.
Yes.
So when we saw these kind of brocade type of patchwork thing, that kind of took us back there for a moment.
It took us back, but it's not the way that Scott Crowler did it. This is a very different
A fresher way.
And I think
A Koji Katsuno way.
I think, yes, all of this, but I think it's a very strong way, because there's nothing that's going to frighten a guy once he's used the idea of colour and pattern, because the tailoring looks beautiful.
The tailoring is impeccable.
Don't you agree, Cobbie?
Yeah,
it
it's
really looks
impeccable.
lovely.
I mean, I personally really like the print. I think the print works. I think maybe out of context, maybe as a separate in a shoot and in a story, it will work. You know, the scarf in a story will work as well. I'm not too keen on the shoe, that shoe in particular, but I mean, it's a python. Can I say penis?
You can say cock.
Sure.
I can say cock.
Yeah.
I can say, okay, so it's a python cock, and it's not really my thing. But I like the short version as well.
Are you insinuating that it's our thing?
It can be my thing, but it's not my thing right now. Yeah.
I love all that tailoring.
Do you think it would be better if there were one less pattern on there The one up on the shoulder looks a bit random to me. Sadly, we haven't yet been able to see the back, what happens round the back, but we might...
I think it works. I think it looks really, really cool.
Okay.
I think it's great. And it's impressive that it's Walt Van Beirendonck that's doing this as well.
I agree with that.
It looks right.
Okay, now...
There we go.
Yes.
This is just beautiful, I think.
Yeah.
Fabulous colours.
It's those colours that we've
Perfectly
seen.
matched.
Yeah, the colours that we saw at the London shows, men's shows.
Yes, in fact.
The
But more subtle. These are very, very subtle shades, it seems to me.
That's beautiful. I really like that.
Yes.
That's everything. That's actually the sibling print. Who's that artist that did it? Do you remember? No? Timothy, what's his face? Sorry if that's wrong.
I don't know.
Which collection?
The latest one, when it's like, you know, the wood plank, and it's that lilac and the blue and that.
But that's it's a sort of classic statement, isn't it?
And what is
But it looks new. I mean, I haven't seen it
Very
before where the
fresh.
colour goes over into the jacket, and
Yes.
it's just easy. I don't think that's a challenging outfit to wear or purchase at retail.
You picked up the knee-high socks
Yeah.
as well, which I really...
Yeah.
Which Nasa Mazar and Sean Sampson, everyone did.
Yeah, Sean did
Is that
I
a
mean,
look
Sean
that you're going to do in your styling?
also did that sort of palette, didn't he? He did that sort of pastely warm, and then he did like a sheer sort of thing. But I love the turtlenecks as well. They're really cool.
Okay, let's see another.
It's a bit of an illusion.
I don't think that works so well.
I think that's great, actually. I think that
Do
the
you?
backdrop being black takes away from it.
You
I
don't think the contrast between
it's a classic
the
suit.
two colours is...
It's a classic suit, and it's a twist, and it's just simple, and I think it's great.
All right. What do you feel?
I don't have any opinion on it. The shoes are bothering me because they're just a bit...
Undecided.
There's no need for
Yeah,
them.
Kobe, you're decided or
undecided
undecided?
on the last look. I just wasn't sure. Like I think
No.
that
I
because
think
the
it's too
colour
heavy.
palette was so warm and light and
It's
Yeah.
and
It's too
tasty,
heavy.
and then
It's
it just
hot.
kind of went to black, and it was just kind of like he wanted to stop you in your tracks and then reintroduce some print
Well,
again.
maybe.
But there isn't any print.
No, the next
But
the
the
next
next
look
one's got a
is
lovely
But I
print.
think
It's
we're also seeing them as individual looks in the show when it flows. It's quite
Yeah.
nice to have interlude looks
Yes,
that break it up.
yes, and that's a good full stop in a way. Well, we can't keep saying they're lovely, but they are lovely, aren't they? That's almost 18th century.
It's charming or something.
It has immense charm, yes.
That's too twee for me with the shorts like that. I don't like that look at
yeah.
all.
I think that this
But
is
it's a
the
nice
time
balance.
that the
But
print
I don't
doesn't
want to
really work.
judge. I don't want to judge the designer on the individual looks, really.
Yeah.
Why are they twee?
It's a bit dandy, that outfit. It's just too much going on, really. There's a lot of detail
Well,
in the
If
top.
that was dandy,
It
then
is a bit dandy, isn't it? But is there something wrong with that?
Well, this is easier. This looks more digestible the way it's been shown with a full-length pant.
Yes. Well, you mean it was overkill, the last one?
Well, you've got all the patterns going on, and then you have a trouser that breaks at the knee, and it was just a bit too much,
Too much?
really.
Okay.
And also, who buys a suit jacket with shorts, really?
It's
I
often
do.
buys.
We do.
It's often buys.
The kids
I
on the
do.
street.
It's
Hey,
great.
don't gang up on me here.
I wouldn't let them.
It's summer.
It's
Hello.
I mean, this isn't about what people buy. It's what he hopes they will buy. It's
Yeah.
projection. You know.
I mean, I think he's also massively considering an editorial perspective as well,
Yeah.
because I mean, his pieces are eye-catching and they are going to generate a lot of editorial content. So, I mean, a piece like that with the flowers, the 3D flowers coming out of it, I mean, I think that's
That's a
incredible.
beautiful jacket.
That's a beautiful piece, and
It
it could be
is.
done in
It's
such a
gorgeous,
classic
yeah.
way as well. Again, the shoes I'm not too sold on yet. I need to see more of those shoes. I need to maybe see close-up images, but I just don't think that
Are they more of a sneaker style, those ones?
They look
those
like
ones look like
sneakers.
they've got like a bit of suede. The other ones that we saw were like more python, weren't they? Yeah.
Let's see if we can
Not
see
convinced.
a better picture of the shoes. Trouble is the name goes right across.
What the hell is that?
Well, he's built it out on.
It's funny, when we
The
saw this
right-hand
one on the
side.
Instagram, we liked it, and now I'm looking at it and I'm like...
Oh, I still like
it's-
it.
it's
I'm
not-
always wary of judging individual outfits. though.
Yeah,
I like to see, because he is
Go,
presenting
what-
it as a show.
What do you like about it instantly?
What I liked about it was just the way that the painting was incorporated into the print. I think that it's quite intelligent. It's random, but yeah, it's unique.
It works.
It's Walter. Yeah, it works definitely. I think the shoes are gorgeous in this one as well. I think the colours are really nice. The sand and like the lemon curd sort of yellow is really lovely.
Oh well, that's.
You weren't so happy about this, were you? Mandy.
No, I didn't make any comment about it. Oh, you mean the double-breasted?
Yeah.
Well, actually, that's a great fashion look for next season, the double-breasted.
The Prada collection had a lot.
Yeah.
What's that made of? Do you think it's made of canvas or is it made of wool? Or?
Hessian. But I think that Jack Tobin made a very good point, a buyer who was here the other day. He was saying that actual double-breasted suits are designed not to be worn open, which we never really consider. But actually, if you are investing in, because I think it's going to be a real fashion look, this double-breasted thing, but actually if you buy it, the fact that you can't have it open, is that, because I think as when you buy an outfit or when you're wearing something for a look, being able to see what's underneath it is part of the...
I think it depends on the makeup of the guy. Like, if you're dealing with an incredibly gaunt guy, you know, then when it's open, it kind of adds that element of androgyny. Whereas if you're dealing with a guy that's slightly more meatier or a little bit more kind of fit and form, then, you know, having it buttoned up, just it kind of gives that elegance, and it. I love double-breasted. I think that's the suiting.
It's got a real London old school about it as well, hasn't it? The Britishness.
I think that the fact that you said you wear it shut, the Prada, and we're not talking about Prada, but the fact that those shirts had such a high print and like this really strong impact, the colour, and they really stood out, so it kind of looked like a whole different outfit.
Yeah.
I think this is too top-heavy for me. From
for me.
An art background, if I was painting, I don't like heavy darkness at the top of something.
No,
it's going to fall over.
I mean, we haven't seen the whole thing yet, but from what I've seen, I just don't think it's given me life.
It's the same image we saw earlier, isn't it?
Yeah, we saw it.
So far, I think he's at his best with the pale, tranquil sort of colours and all the 18th century feel of the.
I like the patchworky feel of the materials he's used for the jackets.
Yes,
I think it looks fresh. I don't think it looks like it's been done before. I think it looks, it looks current.
Oh, very much so.
And the fact that he's presented it interspersed with all the pastels, that makes it look even fresher.
Yes.
And actually, if you think about it, it's almost like the pastels of the sherbet. It's like the palette cleanser in between the different stories that he's presenting in the edit of the show.
What's this? It's a long
double-breasted coat.
Double-breasted coat.
I feel like I like the jacket, but or the coat, sorry, rather. But just collectively, it's a lot of colour, isn't it?
Yeah, if you is it slim pants at the bottom? But if you ignore the pants, I think the jacket is really beautiful. I think that it's got a hint of the Roxanda Ilincic colour palette about the top, and I think there's a lot of confidence in the way he's used those colours. Naturally, if you imagine that piece in somebody's existing wardrobe, that's a really wearable coat,
it really is,
for occasions, for going out, evening. I think he's displaying quite sophisticated
tailoring,
permutation of what he does and what we know about him.
What all of the clothes we've seen have got is this feeling of elegance, understated elegance, I think.
And he doesn't usually do that, which is what I love about this, and I love him for that. Yeah.
I'm loving the suiting. I think that's a really cool direction for him. I mean, he kind of touched on it last season, didn't he?
Yeah.
And I mean, obviously that was very successful for him. I mean, the hair, like you said, the hair's incredibly refined. And you were saying earlier, Mandy, that Aggie and Sam would love like this sort of
some of the brocade pieces. And I mean, just had a hint of that about it. But also, when we were watching the Prada menswear the other day, one of the comments I made was that the colour or the pattern or fantasy of the outfit looked like it had been applied to the outfit once the model was dressed. It was almost painted on. Yeah. And I think you really get this effect with that last look that we were looking at there.
The last one's beautiful. Really lovely.
I love that print. I think that the print is so...
It shows huge restraint. From the stuff that we saw earlier and from his last season, it's really he's honed a sort of elegance for his work.
This is the collection of a man who knows what he's doing.
Even this shoulder that you said that sort of.
I just feel it's a bit much, but maybe
it seems to be like horses.
It also seems like an armour piece to me. It's like
almost.
It kind of adds a bit of coolness for me, that detail.
I like
really.
I like it. Yeah.
The placement is good. I don't like the scarf thing though. It's a bit.
They're too 18th century, I think. Well, 19th century, actually.
Well, it just makes me think that has he got lederhosen on the bottom half?
Wait, we haven't.
And I love that image with the sherbet and the beige and the long peak cap. That's great. I mean, a lot of stylists watching this would engage with that.
Sure.
Is that a wicker visor? Oh.
That shoe.
I'm going to pretend that we haven't noticed the shoes, but you
Yeah.
have your own opinions.
Well, I don't have an opinion on it because Westwood have just done those handbags with the same sort of cock print, and it's a bit, we get it, we did it, it's over, you know.
Yeah.
What's the point? It doesn't fit into the context of this show, I don't think.
What is that graphic of? Can
It's
you?
like a devil.
Is
It
it a
looks like a little devil.
No, it's a
with
pot
top
plant.
hat.
It's a pot
It's a
plant
plant
on a
on
table.
a table.
Yeah, but the name of the collection is Home Sweet Home.
Oh, right.
Oh,
So
right.
these might be
Well,
memories and textures.
It's
of like,
interesting that because I just saw the Patrick Colefield at Tate Britain, and those kind of set pieces or compositions for paintings, it just seems quite relevant
Yeah.
to do that.
It's very much in his mould, really. Except, of course, there aren't the thick black lines around it all.
Do we know
Which would be
anything
interesting
about?
to do on clothes, I think.
Do we know
Some
anything about?
some designers do that.
Yeah.
Do we know? Sorry to interrupt. Do we know anything about where Walter grew up?
Antwerp, I think.
Like, as in terms of like, did he grow up in the countryside? Did he grow up like? Because there seems to be like quite a lot of like, I can see like hay prints and like foxes and like, you know, it's very countryside-ish. It's very kind of like.
Well, yeah, but I
natural.
mean, in Holland and Belgium and places like that, you're never very far away.
Yeah, well, I
from the
guess so,
countryside because the towns are so small.
Yeah.
You know.
Is that a cape effect there, or is it a scarf? I couldn't really tell.
It looks like it's stitched onto the jacket, doesn't it?
The jacket's great. I mean, I like all these brocades for men. I like it when it veers near to the feminine side of a man. I find that quite masculine.
Yes, on the right man. Yes.
that coat is very nice.
That's wonderful. I mean,
Yeah.
really, that's a real winner.
Yes.
We were talking earlier about this kind of youth movement with the styling with the hair, because at the Medium Kirchhoff presentation at London Collections Men, that was an incredible display of discipline, and
Yes.
they showed 2 post-war movies
Yeah.
verging on communism and post-war.
Yeah.
And again, when the models came out, they were undressing the different layers in pairs, and there were some very feminine details coming through, but that hint of youth movement seems to be prevalent
You're
here
right.
as well.
You're right. It's all about confidence, isn't it? Confidence to put it there and leave it and not change. I love this sort of orange and yellow, sort of what it's almost like an arrow, isn't it? There was one before that I thought was rather
that's cool.
nice.
These are very 80s, these pastels, aren't they?
Yes, they are. He's also putting all his eggs in one basket, isn't he, really? Because the shapes haven't changed very much.
No, it's all in the same vein.
And the
isn't it?
balance hasn't. But it works.
Oh, okay.
So that's
Was
the
that the
last
finale
image.
look?
That's an interesting finale look, isn't it? It's an interesting
I don't
look.
think it was the finale.
It isn't. I was going to say it's an odd one
Yeah,
to send us.
but it's great because
all
in
home for.
the interval we saw the little finale,
Final
didn't we?
line,
And it
yeah.
really worked
It
as a
looked lovely,
collection.
Yeah. So what we're being told by our technicians is we have to wait for the next lot. Okay.
Oh, we were interested in that butterfly shirt, weren't we? The
Yes.
next look. Yeah. That really
Big-
stood
big
out in the
collar.
procession at the end.
Yes.
Kind of Gary Newman for the 25th.
No, it's Klaus Nomi.
It
Isn't
is
it?
Klaus Nomi.
Yeah, that's what it is.
Yes.
I nearly did that for Manson's last tour. We tried to get a plastic,
Yeah.
literally a whole plastic tuxedo
It is
top,
Klaus Nomi.
but you can't really
Wonderful.
get in and out of that very easily.
What fun.
Yeah, Klaus Nomi's imagery is iconic. It's fantastic.
You know what? I wasn't familiar with Klaus Nomi, and I went to the opening of the Keith Haring exhibition at the Brooklyn Museum last
Yeah.
year, and it was the first time I'd seen any of his films, because there was a lot of interactive film stuff in that exhibition, and the films were just incredible.
Yeah.
And when I got home, I went on YouTube, and there's hardly anything of him on YouTube, and it just made me.
I was gonna
It
say,
made
'cause
me
I-
think,
I-
you know, with YouTube, it's what is amazing about YouTube is what's not on it.
Well,
You
anything.
know, when you do
Yeah.
a search.
Yeah, what
And
you
I was
can't
really
find.
shocked at how little I could get to recapture this experience at the exhibition.
An interesting point is that Klaus Nomi did some performances with David Bowie. So this is obviously his whole shindig.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yes.
Because Klaus and a performance artist from New York called Joey Arias did backup for Bowie's performances, and this style really influenced Bowie.
This was Danceteria days in New York,
Yeah,
wasn't it?
that's exactly what it was.
So I think this is the last one, yes.
I do love that. Is it a shirt or a jacket?
I think the shirt.
It's a jacket,
But
is it?
I just think that is a great,
I think it's such a
great
strong
piece. Yeah.
I'd like to
I
see
mean,
it
it's
in
probably
person.
detachable at retail. Sorry to talk about the realist customer again. And of course, some of these showpieces don't get produced, do they?
No, far too few of them do across the board.
One of the things I wanted to mention earlier is that Walter Van Beirendonck is very like Bernard Willem. They have this cult following, and it's almost those who know it notice it, and it's almost like a symbolism when you're wearing,
cult.
Well, it's like when you wear a certain designer, and it's like what we're wearing is messages. Coded messages.
Yes.
And we don't want everyone. We don't really want the average person on the street to come up to us and say, "Oh, I love your top." We don't care. We want
You'd rather they
like-minded.
didn't.
We want the like-minded. And I just think that Walter Van Beirendonck, Bernard Willem, they seem to have these like niche cults that I've noticed in London over the years and Europe, where they kind of transcend seasons and people just want to acquire them.
I think that's true, though, of all the top designers, surely. They have a cult
This
following.
very underground, though. I think
Yeah.
in a very
it?
underground way. Yeah.
Where would these be sold in somewhere like London or New York?
I'm
Any
guessing
ideas?
somewhere like not just a label, really, isn't it? And
Not just a label, yeah.
probably Dover Street.
I don't know. Not machine.
I don't know.
No.
It's interesting to know where they will go.
Well, I think the exciting thing about all the retailers like Selfridges and the buyers from Dover Street are at Selfridges now. Wonderful journalist Simon Chilvers from The Guardian is now at Matches as fashion director. So even the department stores have got very sophisticated creative direction.
Yeah.
So it's not like you need an independent retailer like in the old days. I think that the larger stores the customers can deal with this sort of thing that previously was niche.
Can we go back to the new lot that has just come out?
I think he sells a lot of his stuff on his website as well. His website's incredibly interactive.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's one thing that I
was
really
looking
love
at that.
about him. Like, you get the complete archive of his complete body of work,
Yeah.
And his archive work keeps popping up. In fact, there's a store that must be in the Farfetch.
Oh, yeah.
Farfetch feeds through all the very clever Farfetch.
Yeah.
How all the boutiques feed through on e-commerce. But quite a lot of his archive pieces pop up quite a lot on there, and they're amazing when you look at the date that they're from.
Yeah.
I mean, really incredible.
What sort of a price do they command?
I don't know, but he's influenced by a lot of ethnicity as well. So a lot of his older pieces have got
tribes as well,
tribal
yeah.
details,
I
and
remember,
it's really
yeah,
exciting.
Yes.
And Show Studio did that wonderful project a couple of years ago, where they got his whole archive together and he was here.
Yeah.
And they did this beautiful shoot of archive. We were looking at it before we came on, and that
Lovely
was.
plug.
But you wouldn't believe that was archive. It looked like a very coherent edit of something.
And I mean, you could see when we were looking at that, you could see someone kind of coming in, taking one piece and creating an entire collection. It was just so varied, so creatively volatile. He was just going from one thought to the next, and it was just.
And I love that randomness. And
the
easiness.
randomness was so fun. Really, really
This
great.
is much more controlled, what he's showing us now. It's more mannered and more strict, I suppose. Are we liking this one?
I love the jacket.
Yeah. Not sure about the trousers, but I think the jacket is absolutely
But in a way, in a show, like you said earlier, putting it with a pastel pink pant, a lemon jacket, that's almost drawing more attention to the jacket. It's like canvas
yes.
upon which to put the jacket in a show, but not really
Yes.
when you're going to wear it.
Yeah, I think the pant's great. I just think it needs to be out of context again,
you like it,
editorial-wise.
I'm a big fan of trousers like that. I mean, I love that Marlene Dietrich beautiful wide pant that we
Very
even saw.
good. Wide.
at
J.W. Anderson.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I need to have those. I like that, but
Yeah.
I'm allergic to the skinny jeans thing, kind of.
JW is actually a really good kind of pairing for Walter, in terms of them pushing, the concepts of gender and really just kind of going I love that. I think that's great.
Yes, that's beautiful.
Is that a jumpsuit?
He has actually
Like
a
a
J.W.
onesie.
Anderson little flap going at
Is
the
that
side.
not the jacket and trouser where the
It looks like
colour of the trouser is extending to the jacket, like we saw previously?
I feel like it looks like one piece. I
It
don't know,
may
I'm not
be.
sure. Yeah. It's great.
That actually had a hint of the Patrick Kelly dungarees about it. 'Cause it had the one.
Yes, in a way.
yeah.
Yeah.
This is very Gautier, isn't it?
Yeah, I don't think this works.
Doesn't really fit in the show. It looks like it should be on a concert.
Yeah, I don't think that
It's still Noam Chomsky though, isn't it?
Yeah,
This one.
no, he's the political writer.
Oh, sorry. Which one?
Klaus Nomi.
Klaus Nomi.
No,
Always get them mixed up.
Noam Chomsky's
Sorry.
probably wearing a tweed section.
Always get them mixed up.
It is. That's exactly what he's probably going for. It's a bit biblical, isn't it?
Well, what I
Mandy's face
think
says it
is
all.
This works only if it's very, very crisp. If it gets soft, it somehow...
I think you mentioned earlier, Colin, that
loses
you were
something.
wondering what that fabric was as well, whether it was
Yeah.
a gabardine or whether it was a hessian or something like that as
Yeah.
well.
That doesn't work to me. I think we've probably had its best.
Yeah.
It's just sort of running down somehow, isn't it? Or maybe not.
I think that
blaze.
Maybe
jacket
not.
shape is really fresh.
That's a lovely big jacket, isn't
It's
it?
giving me Prada. I can't remember what season it was when she did the oversized, the oversized jacket.
It's like
pretty
Gianni
cool.
Versace.
And of
Versace
course,
90s.
this winter coming is going to be the winter of the big oversized coat as
Indeed.
well.
So it might be a bit boring by next summer.
I think it's setting a new pace with volume shapes as well. I've got a coat that I bought recently that's got that big shape about it, and it was really challenging for me to digest the fact that it was this loose shape. I kind of automatically wanted to say to them in the store, oh, can this be altered? But I had to go with it. And I'm kind of getting into it now, but seeing what other designers are doing, I think there is this very easiness.
Yeah, very much
Yeah,
so,
Stella
yeah.
McCartney has done it so
Yeah.
well, hasn't she,
Yeah.
with her
Yeah.
loose coats.
Well, she's kind of
Oh wow.
very
Oh, wow.
relaxed, isn't she? Sorry, I have an opinion about Stella. I won't say it.
I somehow thought you're allowed to express it.
Well, I'm not going to say my opinion, but I think who said it, that she couldn't design her way to a paper bag. I don't think that she's necessarily a very strong aesthetic.
She did have that collection years ago, which the press didn't go for. You know, the one that was a lot of
Horses, was it?
Yeah, no, the one with the there was an infamous season that Stella had. But you know what? A lot of designers go through that, and that's made her who she is today. And she's built an incredible signature for her business. And her clothing, I mean, it's not my style, but I so respect her, and I love what she does.
Yeah, I think her clothing is
Yeah,
impeccably.
I think
like,
she's had a
classy
big
and
influence
chic.
on how women dress.
Really?
Yeah.
How?
For a woman modern who wants to dress smartly, she's completely redefined.
It's very fresh,
I
though.
think
It
she's
is. It's
redefined the
casual.
dressing.
I feel like she does suiting very well for
beautifully.
women.
I mean, she's sustained suiting as an option to wear. I mean, this has been the decade of dresses, hasn't it, for women?
And jumpsuits
You know.
as well, she's fantastic at.
Yes.
I think, and you
Yeah.
know, scooped backs. I think that her silhouettes are something that we see in other designers all the time.
Did she do the jeans? I think I saw, this is a cheesy reference, but it was an MTV Awards and Madonna was wearing it. It was a scooped, almost butt cracked jeans, and it was a bit like, I thought that was very McQueen. I think she wore a whole white Stella McCartney suit and she made it very low at the bum and tried to make it quite...
I can't remember.
Sexy.
That.
Can we get back to poor old Walter? Next one.
Again with the oversized, it's nice. I like it. I love the white.
Yes.
I really like his elegant venue as well. It looks like he's in the Raphael Gallery at the V&A. But you mentioned where he did his show earlier. Can you remember that? Where the venue
Opera
is?
Garnier?
This is Opera Garnier,
Oh, okay.
which is the very...
I just think it adds a lovely dimension to it, seeing this
well,
backdrop
yes.
rather than a plain white or a dark.
Yes. And the clothes live up to the surroundings.
I
as
think
well.
these pieces are beautiful. Is
So
that
do I.
one piece? That's fantastic. Like, I
Absolutely
haven't
beautiful.
seen that shape.
It feels a bit religious, doesn't it, before? It looked like a pope.
Yeah.
Like a pub or the Pope?
Like the pope.
The
It looked a little bit, like,
All right.
not deliberate, but he looks a little bit...
Okay. Well, I think this is a pretty conscious
dimension to it.
statement, don't you? I think it's a strong statement of a guy who knows where he's going.
And there's a lot of strong editorial highlights. You know, I think people are going to really support him.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm sure.
That I think
lovely.
that works. Like that's a refined art piece. When I don't know if you guys can see this, we're looking at a suit that seems to have like a black, white, and grey paneling. But I just think that in terms of it being dark is a much better interpretation than the one that we saw previously, which was almost
all black at the top,
too much,
too black heavy.
I think white and grey is a marvellous.
It's a perfect balance for the pastels that he's going with, but he's bridging them a lot nicer.
That's just beautiful.
Yeah.
Right. Well, I think that's probably where we stop, on quite a high note. We're all quite...
We should give him a round of applause. I mean, he is such an icon to so many people, and I think it's fantastic that
We're
he's
going to
still...
do that, of course. Why not? Why not? Well suggested.
But I, you know, in retrospect though, those brocades, I love all the pattern and patchwork is wonderful.
Right. Well, thank you all very much, and
thank you
for staying with us. If you did stay with us, it's all beyond our control, but we'll see you tomorrow, I guess. Thank you very much indeed. Thank you very much.
Thank you.